All right, so you wanted the full story on this whole Cenat and Kanye West thing. And well, let's just say it's been a wild ride, especially with this latest development.
Yeah, it's really taken a turn, hasn't it?
Yeah.
We've been digging into all the recent articles to get everyone up to speed, and there's a lot to unpack here.
For sure. So before we dive into the chaos, just a quick reminder for anyone who needs it. We're talking about Cenat, huge name in the streaming world, and Kanye West. How do we even describe Kanye these days?
Well, he's definitely made some choices.
Yeah.
And now he's living in Japan, I guess you could say.
It's Japan. That's a whole other story for another time. But the point is, these two, their relationship has never exactly been smooth sailing.
Not at all. It's always been a bit
Yeah.
complicated.
That's putting it mildly. But things just got a whole lot messier, like breaking news messy.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Cenat just announced he's canceling the planned stream with Kanye.
Yeah, that was a shocker.
I mean, talk about a plot twist. And Cenat didn't hold back either. He straight up said, I seen the tweets. I don't know what's going on. I think it's over. Yes, crazy. It's just back to back to back. It's over, bro.
Oh, whoa. Okay, so clearly something major went down between them.
Right, and that's what we're here to figure out. What exactly happened to make Cenat pull the plug like that?
Well, that kind of statement from Cenat, I mean, he sounds pretty done. It tells us that something happened recently, something big enough to make him completely change course.
Yeah, for sure. So to understand what might have triggered this, we need to rewind a bit. Go back to late January 2025. Remember when Cenat was so hyped about going to Japan to meet Kanye, talking about possibly doing a stream together?
Oh, yeah. He was really excited about
He
it.
was even talking about how they were chatting every day and how positive Kanye was being about the whole thing.
Right. At one point, Cenat even said he was like 90% sure the stream was happening.
Exactly. They seemed to be on good terms.
You'd never guess
Yeah.
that less than a year before that, they had this huge public feud.
You mean the whole Yeezy pants debacle back in March 2024 when Kanye basically went nuclear on Cenat?
Oh, yeah. That was something else.
Kanye absolutely roasted him. For what? Giving his honest opinion about some Yeezy clothes during a stream?
Well, yeah, I mean, Cenat wasn't exactly subtle about it.
True. He was trying on these ridiculously oversized pants, complaining about the sizing. The whole thing was pretty funny to watch, actually.
Yeah, until Kanye got involved.
Oh yeah, then it got real. Kanye slid into those DMs with a vengeance, saying, don't make no jokes about my clothes when you ain't saying nothing about what Adidas is doing. When Vulture's song came out, you ain't play my verse, you controlled, you was told to diss my shit, you a pawn.
Yeah.
And then he finished it off with a, let's just say it wasn't very polite.
No, it wasn't. It was a pretty intense message. But I guess it shows how seriously Kanye takes his fashion line.
And anyone who says anything negative about it.
Right. It seems like there might have been some tension between them even before this whole pants thing.
So we go from this fiery exchange back in 2024, fast forward to early 2025. And things take a very bizarre turn.
Oh, yeah. Things got weird.
Kanye posts a picture on Instagram, and get this, it's a horse wearing his bully merch inside Cenat's streaming studio.
It was such a Kanye thing to do.
Right, like this strange attempt at making amends, but in the most cryptic and confusing way possible.
And the weirdest part, Cenat said he had absolutely no idea about it.
It's like Kanye was trying to extend an olive branch, but he did it by sneaking a horse and a hoodie into Cenat's studio.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
So we've got public beef, a horse and a hoodie, and now a canceled stream, and a very cryptic, I seen the tweets from Cenat.
It's hard to keep up.
So what do you think pushed things over the edge this time?
Well, the article you shared mentioned Kanye's recent anti-Semitic tirade on X.
Oh, right. X. That's what they're calling Twitter these days.
Yeah, I think that's probably what Cenat was referring to.
That makes sense. And knowing how sensitive Kanye is to anything he sees as disrespect, maybe seeing those tweets was just a step too far for Cenat. Like, he felt he had to distance himself.
Possibly.
Yeah.
It's hard to say for sure, but it definitely raises some interesting questions.
Like what?
Well, we know Kanye has a history of kind of lashing out at people, especially when he feels they've wronged him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Remember when he went after that other artist?
For not playing his verse on a song?
Yeah. It was brutal.
So maybe Cenat was worried about becoming the next target.
I mean, can you blame him? This is Kanye we're talking about.
Right.
So we've got beef, we've got a weird attempt at reconciliation, and now we've got this very public fallout.
Like a reality show.
But with real consequences.
And it really highlights how complicated these online relationships can be.
Especially when you've got people like Kanye and Cenat involved.
Right. There's this constant balancing act between personal feelings, public image, and the insane pressure of social media.
It's not just about them either. This whole thing brings up bigger issues about responsibility in the digital age.
Absolutely.
As creators, how do you deal with controversial figures? Do you stay silent? Do you speak out? Is there even a right answer?
I honestly don't know. It's tough.
It's a question we all need to think about, especially in a world where everything happens so fast online.
Yeah. And there's so much pressure to react instantly.
There are no easy answers. But maybe by understanding situations like this, we can at least start to navigate these complex waters a little bit better.
I hope so.
So, we've laid out the facts, the history, the drama. Now we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this whole Kanye Cenat situation? What surprised you the most?
Yeah, head over to our social media and tell us what you think. Because this conversation is far from over.
And while you're thinking about that, consider this. Is it ever possible to completely separate the art from the artist?
Especially in the age of social media.
Can you enjoy Kanye's music knowing the things he said? Can you support Cenat's content knowing the tough choices he's had to make?
It's something I've been wrestling with myself.
Yeah, me too. Social media makes it impossible to ignore the personal lives of artists these days.
Right. It's all out there.
And it's a constant struggle to reconcile their work with their actions.
It really is.
But that's a whole other conversation for another time.
Yeah. For now, let's just focus on processing everything we've learned about Kanye and Cenat. It's such a fascinating case study.
In the power dynamics of the digital world.
Exactly.
And the crazy dilemmas creators face every single day.
It's a lot.
And this story is still unfolding. Who knows what's going to happen next?
It wouldn't surprise me if there was another twist around the corner.
But whatever happens, we'll be here to break it all down for you. So stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into the saga of Cenat and Kanye West.
You know, it's interesting to think about how this whole thing with Cenat and Kanye, it's like it reflects this bigger trend we're seeing online these days.
What do you mean?
Well, like how the lines between personal lives and public personas are getting blurrier, especially for people in the spotlight.
Yeah, that's true. Social media has basically turned everyone into like a walking, talking, tweeting documentary.
And for someone like Kanye, with his huge following and, his personality.
Yeah, he's not exactly known for being quiet.
Every single thing he posts, it's like it becomes a potential headline.
It's crazy.
And that's where things get tricky. Because it's not just about expressing yourself anymore. It's about understanding that your words have weight. They have impact. We've seen how Kanye's recent actions have caused this ripple effect. Not just for him, but for the people around him too.
Like Cenat. His whole thing with Kanye could have been huge for his career, but then Kanye makes these statements and suddenly Cenat's in a really tough position.
He's forced to make a choice. Stay silent and maybe benefit from the association with Kanye, or speak out and risk alienating him. It's a classic dilemma.
For anyone trying to navigate online fame, I guess.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It makes you wonder, is there even a safe way to collaborate with someone like Kanye? Someone who's known for being unpredictable?
That's a good question. And honestly, I don't know if there's an easy answer.
Yeah.
Social media has created this environment where everything's amplified. Like even the smallest misstep can have these huge consequences.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Right.
But this isn't just about celebrities and influencers though, right? This whole idea of responsibility online.
It applies to everyone.
We all have a platform of some sort.
Whether it's a large following or just a few close friends, our words have impact.
So we need to be mindful of what we're putting out there.
Absolutely. Think about what you share online, the comments you make, the content you engage with. It all shapes the online landscape.
Are we adding to the negativity, or are we trying to promote something positive?
It's something we all need to consider.
It's a lot to think about.
It could feel overwhelming,
For sure.
but I think the key is to approach it with awareness and empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah, like think before you post. Consider the impact of your words and try to have conversations with respect.
And an open mind. It's okay to make mistakes, though.
Of course. We're all learning as we go. The important thing is to be open to feedback, learn from our mistakes, and try to do better next time.
It's a process.
It is.
This whole conversation, it makes you realize that the internet is like a giant ecosystem.
In a way, it is.
Everything's connected. Even small actions can have these ripple effects.
It's true.
And we might not even be aware of them.
Which is why it's so important to have these conversations, to unpack all the complexities of how we interact online.
And to help each other navigate this whole new world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the choices we make online, they shape the world we live in offline.
Okay, so we've talked about the responsibility of creators and the impact of social media. But there's another layer to this whole Kanye Cenat thing that I think is interesting.
What's that?
The global aspect. Kanye's living in Japan now, and that adds a whole other dimension to this.
You're right. It's not just a personal conflict anymore. It's playing out on an international stage.
Kanye's actions and statements, they're being interpreted by audiences all over the world.
And that can influence how people see American culture.
It's like he's become this unintentional cultural ambassador.
Whether he wants to be or not.
Every move he makes is being scrutinized
It's fascinating to see how his presence in Japan is being perceived.
by different cultures.
It's a reminder that the internet has made the world smaller.
We're all connected in ways we might not even realize.
What happens in one part of the world can have a ripple effect on the other side of the globe.
It's mind-blowing.
It really is.
It raises so many questions, like how does Kanye's move to Japan affect his image, his music? How do people in Japan see him?
It's hard to say for sure. We can speculate, but ultimately, it's up to each individual to form their own opinions.
That's what makes this so interesting.
It's this mix of cultural exchange,
Mm.
personal expression, and the constantly changing dynamics of the digital age.
It's like we're watching a social experiment unfold
In real time.
with unpredictable results.
Exactly. Which is why it's so important to stay informed, stay engaged, and keep asking questions.
Because the more we understand about this digital world
The better we'll be able to handle its challenges.
and use it for good.
Okay, so we've covered a lot, but what do you think about all this?
Yeah. What are your takeaways? What parts of this story resonate with you?
We want to hear from you. Share your thoughts on our social media.
Let's keep this conversation going.
And remember, this deep dive isn't over yet. We still have more to explore.
So stay tuned for our final thoughts. In part 3 of our exploration of the Kai Cenat and Kanye West saga, we've talked about a lot, haven't we?
Oh yeah, we have.
It's crazy how one situation can spark so many conversations about online culture, responsibility, global influence.
It really shows how connected everything is these days. Speaking of connections, remember that question we asked earlier?
About separating the art from the artist.
Yeah, that one.
Oh yeah, that's a tough one.
Can you enjoy Kanye's music knowing what he said?
Can you support Cenat knowing the choices he's made?
I don't know. Something I've been thinking about a lot.
Me too.
Social media makes it so hard to separate the person from their work.
Yeah, it's all right there in your face.
Every tweet, every post, every statement, it all becomes part of their story.
You can't just ignore it anymore.
It makes you think about your own values.
Like, what are you willing to overlook?
What are your deal breakers?
It's a constant struggle.
And I don't think there's a right answer.
It's a personal choice.
It really is.
And it's a conversation that's happening everywhere, not just with musicians.
Actors, athletes, authors, YouTubers.
Everyone's under a microscope these days.
It's like they're held to a higher standard now.
It makes you wonder if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
I mean, on the one hand, it holds people accountable.
But it can also stifle creativity.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
We're all still trying to figure it out.
How to balance accountability with creative freedom.
It's a tricky balance.
And it's happening right now with Kanye and Cenat.
And so many others.
This conversation isn't going away anytime soon.
So what do you think? Can you separate the art from the artist?
Let us know your thoughts. Head over to our social media.
And leave a comment.
We want to hear from you. And as we wrap up, we want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
This whole situation with Kanye and Cenat, it's like a microcosm of the digital age. Our actions have consequences.
Our words have power.
And our choices shape the world around us.
So let's be mindful. Let's be responsible.
And let's try to make the online world a better place.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.